I want to talk a little bit about your ideas um, regarding the learning exercise as it relates to ATL, or approaches to teaching and learning. Um, Also, in this post, I'm going to put a link at the bottom, which has a connection to, or will bring you to the ATL site. Um, Rather than set these up as PDF guides, as you may or may not have noticed, the IB is increasingly making the guides for courses dynamic and open to everyone rather than just being on the OCC. So ATL is one of these. And I'm not sure if any of you were involved in the ATL project. I wasn't. In terms of crafting and things like that, we worked to incorporate ATL as it was being developed into the GloPost syllabus. And if you were involved in the project, I'd love to hear your thoughts and your experiences around how this was constructed. But in the broadest strokes, really the approaches to teaching and learning in the IB, they're rooted largely within constructivist educational principles. A lot of focus on experiential learning, reflection learning, things along those lines. I think the key pieces that, or what makes ATL so important, is the focus on inquiry, the move from content to conceptual understanding. It's not about how many facts you can list, but rather understanding what power means. What does development mean? And you can see in global politics we have 16 concepts that are the core of the learning, and we'll dive deeper into this, especially as we get to the assessments. ATL, regardless, of course, focuses on contextual understanding globally and locally. In terms of practice, there's a lot of work in terms of collaboration within learning environments. There's a fantastic story in NPR this morning, National Public Radio here in the States, on I'm not, it's got some research base to it, but it's obviously synthesized for the general public. But collaboration is really at the forefront of what the authors of the study are talking about in terms of effective learning, and how to put students in environments where they can learn and develop deep understanding. To that end, that the ATL's approach to learning really focuses on differentiation, a loaded term if you look at educational theory, but and the IB is pretty specific about what differentiation is and isn't, or what it could be, and really isn't. And we can talk about those things if you'd like, particularly in the Skype calls coming up on Wednesdays. And then obviously the information, or the idea that all learning is assessed, most of it formative, but obviously summative as well. And so when we look at the ways in which teaching is framed in the IB, it really is centered on these particular programs and principles. I think that's the best way to say. So again, I encourage you to look at the ATL site and explore it. It has everything from what does it actually look like theoretically? What does it look like in practice? There are some toolkits there as well. Unit planners, self-reflection tools, everything that you could possibly use, particularly if you are new to the IB or new to this course, or just want to take a fresh start. There's some good ideas here for how you want to think about backwards design or otherwise constructing materials for the course. One of the challenges, and again this is a running theme for the workshop, one of the challenges that you'll find is that there really is no prescribed, or the prescribed curriculum is a better way to say it. The prescribed curriculum for the course is very different than other courses that you've taught in the past. 16 concepts, some theoretical perspectives, some individual and group perspectives, the levels of analysis, one of the frameworks, as well as some broad-based theory. Whether it's realism, liberalism, or constructivism in terms of IR, or focusing on theories of war and peace or models of development. But there aren't prescribed cases. And as we dive a little deeper, I'll walk you through those aspects of the syllabus. We intentionally created a syllabus that was flexible enough for local contexts, was broad enough for everyone to go and find their own case material to support the conceptual learning and really through the framework of ATL. And so on the one hand, that gives you a tremendous amount of freedom in the types of work that can be done. It's also a little daunting if you're unfamiliar with the topic. To this end, though, I want to take a look at a couple of example ideas for using ATL. Mark, you focused on the Council on Foreign Relations, and I think that I know the CFR. Actually, you missed probably the best things in CFR, and so I'll put a link in this as in the post as well. The Council on Foreign Relations, yes, is an American think tank advising policymakers, but it does have a very, very global perspective in its balance of content in terms of literature, online articles, accessibility, things like that, multiple perspectives. Not Marxist, in terms of the range of offers, but certainly within the conventional confines of contemporary world politics. But the content there is broader than the foreign affairs magazines. They do live events with policymakers and members of government international experts. They have an entire educational platform for both university as well as K-12. I'll put that link in as well. This is sort of a resource, a Module 4 conversation, but since you brought it up, I'm going to jump ahead. I've actually been working with the CFR for a number of years, even before GLOPO, but certainly through this process as well. The other big, so I'll put the educators link up as well for you to explore, all to explore. The other one is CFR's Model Diplomacy, which is different than Model UN. And Model UN, we can talk about the strengths and limitations of Model UN. It can be an excellent experience, can be a not so much excellent experience, just like anything else. Model Diplomacy is different in the sense that it focuses on policy making, so inside the decision-making bodies. Here it's an American perspective, but I'll put the link up and you can see the cases that they use. And they're now adding 4 more this year, including these are all hypothetical cases, but based on real-world, scenario situations. So they do everything from crisis and economic collapse in Venezuela, which we're witnessing, of course, right now. If you're an American, one of the new cases is Boko Haram. They look at the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. They look at humanitarian intervention in South Sudan. A tremendous number of cases, and I use this, and I have colleagues who are now using this as really the cornerstone, not only, but the cornerstone learning experience and content for global politics, in that it provides inquiry, an opportunity for collaboration, really all of those differentiation, all of those 6 pillars of ATL within the simulations, the research that's done by the students, and obviously the simulation, the crisis simulation, and then the debriefing papers and the debriefing notes that are done, the policy memos that the students write are amenable to some tweaking on the part of GLOPO teachers to focus on conceptual understanding and theoretical understanding. So it really does provide, I hate to say, I'm never one to say that there's one size, or there's one way to do this, but it's an excellent resource. And so I brought it up because, Mark, that you brought up this idea with collaboration and research skills. More broadly, I think, when we talk about collaboration and research, the idea of simulation and gaming remains, I think, at the cornerstone of global politics. It's not just myself I wasn't one of the only ones to advocate strongly for this approach. I've done some research on this, on the value of simulations in global politics. If you want, I can post the article for you as well, the last article I put out, which was November. But other folks, colleague in Geneva does mock trial with a trip to the ICJ. There are folks in China who do digital-based games as part of the larger case studies. There's a ton of us in global politics that see simulation and gaming debate as an anchor pedagogical approach to global politics, and we can connect all aspects of ATL through those pieces. So it's worth looking at if you're thinking about ways. Okay, how do I embody ATL in my classroom space and through the lessons. In looking through through other ideas, most everyone put through some very sort of general some general approaches. I think that's perhaps the best way to go right now. I think when we get to Module 4, we'll start talking about the idea of resource sharing and things like that. Rakisha in particular, and I'm glad you're able to to finally get the logins sorted out. You obviously you put together a much more structured approach to conceptual understanding and lesson design. Um, the step-by-step process, I think, it's a good start and a way to go. Everything that we do, at least at this level, we want to, we're just sort of brainstorming and things like that. But you certainly can design your lessons. And again, Lakeisha, I picked up on yours because the unit planner that's available and the examples on the ATL site would be great ways to take those ideas and get them into something a bit more formal if you're looking for that. And anyone else looking for that, that may be a way to structure your unit design or your lesson design, so that you're connecting, you're using the approaches to teaching and learning as a way to facilitate global politics and obviously make connections to not just the course content, but what we talk about in the core, either through the extended essay, CAS, or certainly with theory of knowledge. But everyone's discussion seems to be incredibly varied, which is fantastic. The idea of looking at different resources, different cases, different approaches to tackling these very, very challenging concepts. So all good ideas worth, and I'll say this several times over the next couple of weeks. These are ideas that are worth reading of your colleagues, ideas that are worth reading. But you'll have access to this workshop for quite some time. I would start downloading things that you think, or copying things that you think are good ideas that would work well in your classroom, or that you're willing to take a risk and try as you open this class up in the fall, because there's a lot that can be worked here. And what's the nice thing about global politics is that everybody comes to this with fresh eyes, and everyone comes with a broad range of ideas. And there's not one way to teach this course. So again, good stuff. I'll post some resources in the ATL forum, and we'll keep moving on to the next video in just a second.